Hello everybody, I want to show the pipe bending calculator. This will be the first video from HVAC-Calcs about pipe bending. And I want to go over the simple how to basically use this. What you have on the left side here is you're going to have all your measurements. You're going to take all your measurements center to center, mark them all on here, and depending on the type of bender you have and its radius, it'll give you all your adjusted lengths, and you can mark all your pipe at once, make all your bends. On the left side here, we have some different kind of calculators for triangles and offsets, 4-point saddle, parallel offsets, rolling offsets, and some conversions. So the first thing you'd want to do if you're starting a new project, you would simply hit new. I already have a project laid out here. Hit new. You're going to put the job name in, the bend name, put the radius of your bender. You can look it up. I have my bender in here, the ones I have, and you can easily add a new bender and put in its size and its radius. And if you're using a frontal hook measurement on your bender, you can also put that. So I selected my Rothenberger, and next you want to select is your style of bender. And there's basically, for me, 3 styles of benders, and these might not even be the right names, but the one shown here, I call this a marked roller. And what I mean by that is the roller here is marked with degrees and angles. So if you have your selection as marked roller for style of bender, you're going to put all your marks on your pipe, and you're going to move and you're going to pull that pipe through. If you're doing a 90, you're going to put the mark here. If you're doing a 45 here, 30, 15, and anything in between, you have to kind of extrapolate. If you have a bender like I have, adjust 0, the roller's not marked at all, and you just have a 0 right here. In which case, you'll select that when you're after you make all your measurements over here. That's adjust to 0, and then this will adjust where you mark your pipe. The third type of bender is mostly used by electricians when they're bending conduit. And a lot of times they'll use what's called a frontal hook measurement, and the same thing applies. This will be where you're putting your pipe mark and then making your bends. So, and if you notice here, if I go with the mark roller, which is the first style, you put all your measurements here, and this adjusts your length for gain or stretch, and here's where you mark your pipe. And the last one is your total length on this marked roller type. Now if you have adjust to 0 like mine, if you watch right here, adjust to 0, all these numbers will change. And here's where you're going to mark your pipe, and you're going to set those to the 0 mark. And same for front of hook. Front of hook, you need to enter your front of hook measurement, which is your measurement from the front of your hook to your 0. Now we're going to use my Rothenberger 7/8, so I'm bending 3/4 pipe here and using the mark roller. So if you take a look, let's say we're doing a drawing like this. Let's look at this first one right here. This is what you're bending. You move this over a little more. Oh, it's gonna squirt. I'll put this over here. So what you'll want to do is simply this. This is your first measurement. This is your first segment right here. This segment right here is 6 inches. You're starting off with 0, so you would enter 0, and then you would enter 6 inches, and you're going into a 45, so you put 45. Then on the next line, you're going to put 45, because it's a 45-degree angle, and this measurement, obviously this isn't the scale. Let's say this next one is 8 and 7/8. Straight line here. So we did our 45, we do our 8 and 7/8, and another 45 because it ends on a 45-degree angle. And we're going to do this next segment. This is going to be another 45 as it starts. This is 6 and 7/8, 45, 6, 7/8, and you're going into a 90, and then 9 and 1/8. Another 90, 10 inches. Again, all not to scale. Let me clear that. So what happens is you make all these entries in here, and this will give you your adjusted length. Now, if you were using a marked roller type, if you were using a marked roller, let's get back to marked roller, right? All those measurements, you would start at this end, you make all those measurements in sequence. You'd go 6, 14 3/4, 21 1/2, 29, and so on. You'd make all, and the last measurement is the full length of your pipe. You make all those measurements. You make mark, mark, mark. And on the marked roller, your 45, you would set it right here. You make your 45 bend, push through, another 45 mark right there, push through, 90, 90, and I think you get the idea. So that's all well and good. But let's say you have an adjust to 0. Let me bring this back up. I'm sorry. An adjust to 0 where you got to put all your marks here, right? So what happens is you're going to switch this to adjust to 0. Let me show it to you. And marked roller. See all these measurements? 6. The first one's always going to be the same. 6, 14. You go to adjust to 0. Now your marks are going to change. This is how you're going to mark your pipe. And if you did front of hook, you would notice they get smaller and smaller. The only thing I can't get this to do right yet is the total length. This is the total length, the last measurement. That's going to be your last mark. If you go back to mark roller, you'll see 37 5/8 is your total length. So let's put this back to adjust to 0. And that's where you're going to make all your marks. And that's basically it. Bend them, don't dogleg them, and away you go. So let's go to, let's do a parallel offset. Now the best way to do a parallel offset for marking this pipe is going to be, you're going to hit duplicate. I'm going to start off on the first measurement. Actually, let me go back to here. And let me duplicate this. And we'll call this job 2, bend 1, sample offset 1. I can show to you how I actually do it. Okay, so all these numbers are currently the same. So what if you notice is, let's do this parallel offset, and we're doing inch fraction. Okay, if you notice when you do a parallel offset, when you start from here, when you start from this mark right here, let me change colors real quick. You notice from this point here to this point here is actually shorter than this point here and this point here. So what I do is I call that shrink. So I set this for shrink, right? Now, our offset, let's say we're doing a 3-inch spread here, center to center line. The first angle is going to be a 45, right? And our measured length of pipe was 6 inches, right? 6 inches. So what that's going to tell me is the difference in length, this difference in length between the red line and the black line is 1.25 inches shorter. So now we're going to make this 4 3/4. So we're going to switch this to 4 3/4. Got that, right? Now, this measurement is going to be the same. But if you notice this measurement, now here's where things get tricky. This measurement is actually this third measurement. Let me get back to drawing. So this measurement here, from here to here, stays the same. However, this measurement from here to here, if you move that over so it was over here, if you pushed it forward, you'll see it has to grow a little bit. It would have to grow to get to this mark and then retreat. So what we're going to do, and because it's a 90, different set of circumstances. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this to 90, right? And you'll notice that when we change this to 90, we get some different things here. So our previous difference in length was 1.25 inches. But it was, so now we need this to grow. So this is -1, this is shrinking. Of course this is shrinking. This is a smaller bend. And I want this to grow a little bit and then shrink. So what's going to happen is if I slid this over, right? So if I brought this point lined up with this point, slid it this way, right? You would see that I would need this to grow a little bit to get me to this mark. So what I'm going to do, I need this to grow a little bit, and then I need it to shrink. So we'll see here is this 6 7/8 mark. This measurement's now going to be 5 1/8. All right, so 6 7/8 now becomes 5 1/8. So 5 1/8. Check. Now you'll notice, what do we know about here? 90 to 90, there's no change. This segment here, from here to here, is the same length as from here to here. So nothing changes on that one. So nothing will change on that. However, and then the last 90, you'll notice, remember we got a 3-inch spread. So if this has come back 3 inches, this has to grow 3 inches. So very easily just switch this to 13th. And I'm going to do a little editing to make all this. So that's all. So now these are all your measurements from 3 5/16, 12 16. These are all the measurements on your pipe with the angles. So and that would be a basic offset.